Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Christmas time accordion album class. In the description, I called it a mini display album. This is what it's going to look like when it's finished. And I called it a display album because I really envision you being able to open it up and set it on your mantle or set it on a table somewhere so that everyone can see your holiday message. It's really nice that the chipboard makes it nice and sturdy, but then you can fold it up and keep it compact. And we're going to create a little belly band to go around the middle so that we can keep it all together. I think this will make a great gift for someone, or just keep it for yourself. So we are going to go through, so that this project was actually designed by G45, and we are just going along for the ride, but I'm not very good at following rules. So there are a few things that I have tweaked and changed from the instructions. For example, on this center panel, the instructions call for you just to have these panels flat. I've turned them into flaps so that you can put more photos on there and make more use of that space. The other thing that the instructions called for, which we were unable to do, is they had some metal keys that they used for these little tabs here, but they were out of stock and probably wasn't going to be able to get them until January. So I've just made some little modifications there so that we can still do this awesome class. In your kit, you also got a whole little selection of wood bits. I've colored mine green just using my oxide ink. You can make it whatever color you want. They don't all have to be the same. And I thought of this afterwards, if you want to use the wood bits up here on your tabs as well, by all means. This is your project, so feel free to flip papers and be a rule breaker like me and not do as the teacher instructs if you feel particularly creative or if you've got an idea to make things a little bit different. So we'll quickly go through the pieces that you should have in your kit, and then we will go ahead and start cutting our paper. So you should have a selection of 12 by 12 cardstock from the Christmas time line from G45. This is probably one of my favorite Christmas lines that they've come out with in the last couple of years. It's got a really traditional feel to it, but of course with G45 style. So you should have this piece here with the Santa Claus and the Christmas time in the middle. We're actually going to be using the checkerboard on the back. I'm gonna go this way. You should have this piece here with the green and red holly and the gears with the green vine on the back. You should have the red and green plaid with the Christmas trees on the back. We are going to be using the plaid, but again, if you like the other side better, when we get to those pieces, if you want to flip it over, by all means, go ahead and flip it over. You should have this beautiful piece with the black background and the gold gear ornaments. I feel like I'm off to one side. Again, ladies, if I end up going off camera by accident, please nudge me back up. And it's just got the black gears on the back. There will be this piece, gold piece with the reindeer and the cut-aparts on the back. We're going to be using a lot of the cut-aparts, so we'll get to that when we do our cutting. And then the last piece has these cone-shaped trees and the cut-aparts on the back. So again, we're going to be using the cut-apart side for this. That's it for your 12 by 12 paper. As I continue to talk, if you haven't done so already, you can go ahead and cut your advertising strips off because obviously we won't need them. From a chipboard standpoint, you should have this large piece, which was 6.5 by 8.5. You should have 2 pieces that are going to go on either side. These pieces are 4 3/4 by 6.5. And you will have 2 smaller pieces that are 3 1/4 by 4.5. So those will go on the outside edge. That's your chipboard. We'll get to that. You should also have 4 pieces of black cardstock. These are going to be for our hinges. I did use the Color Mates paper that we have in the store that was specifically designed for accordion albums and mini album making. I just like it because it doesn't crack when you score it and fold it. If you go ahead to make another one of these projects, you can use regular cardstock. Just be careful with your scoring that you don't push too hard through the paper, because this is what is going to hold all the pieces together. So you'll have 2 larger pieces that are 2 by 6, and you will have 2 smaller pieces that are, well, the instruction called for 2 by 4 1/8. I actually only cut them 2 by 4. That 1/8 of an inch is not going to make a difference, and it helps make our paper stretch a little bit further. So that's what you've got there. And then you should have your little package of wood bits, and be careful when you dump these out, because you should have a little tiny Velcro dot in there too, and you don't want to lose that. We need that for the belly band. And I also gave you some gold ribbon that we can use to embellish and whatnot. I know I wanted my camera close, but I'm feeling like I'm a little bit too close, so bear with me. Mind the earthquake as I just pull this up a little bit. There we go. Now you can see a little bit more of my workspace, but I'll make sure I hold things up close if we need them. Okie dokie. So we're going to start with cutting our paper. So your wood bits, your ribbon, your chipboard, and your black cardstock can just go off to one side. You're going to want to grab your paper trimmer. And if you are following along with the instructions, basically page number 1, I've taken care of for you. Those are already cut and ready to go. We are going right to page number 2. But I'll walk you through all of those steps as well. So the first piece we're going to cut was called Holly and Mistletoe. It is the black, this black one with the holly and the gears. It should be, I think, second in your pile if you still have them in order. And using our paper trimmer, we are going to cut 2 pieces that are 6 by 8. Now this paper is nicely random, so it really doesn't matter what direction you put in first. I'm going to do my 8-inch cut first, and then spin it and cut it in half at 6. So I'm just going to come all the way over here to 8 inches on my paper trimmer, cut all the way up. This piece is scrap. You may choose to use it when we get to making the belly band. We're going to put the whole album together first, then we'll come back and do the belly band. I think, yeah, I use this for part of my belly band, but you can just put it aside for right now. Then this piece here, we're simply going to rotate 90 degrees so that it's horizontal, and we're going to cut it at 6. So we've got 2 pieces that are 6 by 8. Easy peasy. So that can get tucked away in our keep pile. And I'm already running out of space. Okay, the second piece that we are going to cut, and again, I'm assuming all is good unless you tell me to slow down. The second piece we're going to cut is we're going to cut apart poor Santa, because as much as I love him, we're using the other side. So we need to cut 4 pieces that are 4 1/4 by 6. So oh, what happened here? I got a little pop-up and I've lost you guys. Just bear with me a second. There we go. I'm going to cut my 4 1/4 inch pieces first. Going to cut 2 strips and then we'll turn them horizontal and cut them in half at 6. So I'm going to start with my paper. Again, it's beautifully random, so it does not matter what direction you put it in. We're going to cut it at 4 1/4. Once, push that to the side, slide your paper over again, and cut it at 4 1/4 one more time. This little bit that's left over on the right can go into your scrap to use later pile. These 2 pieces here, we're now going to turn horizontal and cut it at 6 inches. And I'm sorry, they look like they're vibrating on the camera here. So we will do this quickly. So at 6 inches in half, we've got 2 pieces that goes in our keep pile. And do the same thing with our second strip. So you should have 4 of these checkerboard pieces that are 4 1/4 by 6 inches. Everyone good? Thumbs up, thumbs up. Excellent. Our next piece that we're going to cut is that red plaid, which is, it's the Christmas tree or the partridge in a pear tree page, but on the back. Love these random patterns that can go any direction. This piece, we are going to cut 4 pieces that are 3 7/8 by 4 3/4. So I'm going to cut my 3 7/8 first. And if you are not familiar or comfortable with 1/8 of an inch, let me get this closer here. My board, the numbers are going. So 3 7/8 is this tick mark here that's between 3 3/4 and 4. It's exactly halfway between 3 3/4 and 4. Now, the way we're going to be using this is if you really are uncomfortable with 1/8 of an inch, you can just cut it at 3 3/4 and it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. It just means that you're going to have a bit more of a border around the outsides of your square. So I'm going to start at 3 7/8 and cut the strip all the way up to the top. And just like the last time, I'm going to slide it across, go to 3 7/8 again, and do that one more time. A large piece goes in your scrap pile. We're going to take this, swing it horizontal, and we're going to cut it at 4 3/4. And we're going to do that 2 times. So 4 3/4, and then 4 3/4. Little piece is scrap. These 2 pieces are keep. And do the same thing with your second strip. 4 3/4. Slide 4 3/4 again. Little piece is scrap. And now you have 4 pieces that are 4 3/4 by 3 7/8. One more large piece to cut, and then we will cut out our cut aparts. We're going to cut this guy. Now, because the ornaments are hanging, direction does matter this time. So we want to make sure that our ornaments are vertical, and we're going to cut them at 2 7/8 by 4 1/8. So again, tricky ones. 2 7/8 is halfway between 2 3/4 and 3. And then 4 1/8 is just one tick to the left of your 4. So halfway between 4 and 4 1/4. I'm just gonna check my sample in 100 before we make any cuts. That is, yeah, okay, I got it right. So keep your ornaments vertical. Our first cut is 2 7/8. Again, if you're uncomfortable with the 8ths, just go a little bit less at 2 3/4. So 2 7/8 all the way up. Yep. And then one more time, you're going to slide your paper over to 2 7/8 and go all the way to the top. You've got a very large piece left over that can go in your to be used later pile. You've got 2 strips here. We're going to do our quarter turn rotation, and 4 1/8 is going to be our cut. And we're going to do that twice. So 4 1/8, slide, 4 1/8. Be very careful which piece you toss. That you, out of these 3, you will have one that's just a little bit shorter. That's your scrap. So make sure that little one goes in your scrap pile. And we're going to do it one more time with our other strip. Turn it horizontal, 4 1/8. And 4 1/8. So once again, if you ladies are doing this on your own after the fact with other paper, and you're trying to stretch a pattern that maybe you don't have a lot of, you could very easily cut these just at 4 instead of 4 1/8, and then you would have gotten 3 out of that strip. So just a trick that often, even when there's 8s, you can fudge it a little bit if you're trying to stretch your paper. So now we have 4 of those pieces, and all of our big pieces are done cutting now. So that's going to go in my keep pile. Like I said, we'll come back and do the belly band at the end, and you can choose from whatever scraps that you've got that you can use. The last thing we're going to do is we are going to tackle our cut aparts. So you should have these 2 pieces left. Let's start with this one first. It's got the cone trees on the back because it's a little bit easier. I like to grab some Post-it notes. Because I'm following directions, so I'm just going to take some Post-it notes and mark what I need to cut. So I want this Santa down at the bottom. I want Christmas time. I want peace, love, and joy, which is this guy up here. And we want the choo-choo train. Now, I will tell you, we don't use these 2 guys in the project. So if you want to switch any one of these, you are more than welcome to. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out this border because we're going to use those in a couple of different places. So go ahead and cut these pieces out. Be careful to save your postage stamps, because that's what we're going to use as the little tabs on the top. So I'm just going to start by cutting this bottom section out. Probably get as close as I can to that green border because I know we need that. I am strictly eyeballing at this point. I find that's the easiest. I don't have exact measurements to give you, but we can always use our scissors to trim after the fact as well. All right. With these cut aparts, you can see that there's quite a large black background behind it. When I did my sample, I cut them pretty close, But if you want to leave a little bit of black border, that is totally okay. Up to you. For right now, I'm not going to cut apart all the individual postage stamps, but just keep them close so that when we get to those finishing steps, we have them handy. Okay, so trim them close. Grab my trash can. Fall out of my chair. So once you have those two pieces cut and ready to go, I'm going to take my Post-it notes off because I'm going to need them on the second sheet of paper, but I know these are the ones I'm keeping. So I'll put that in my keep pile. Next, I'm going to trim close to the red border here so that I've got it handy. And I know I want these two guys, so I'm going to trim the verticals first. Keep my stamps close by. Keep my two extra cards in my to be used later pile, and then just tidy it up. Okay, so we've got those two ready to go. Everybody's with me so far? Thumbs up, nods and thumbs up. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, the last thing we're going to do on here is we are going to, you can trim the little black off the edge, and we're going to split this apart. But so you want to keep the red separate. The cream and the green are going to stay together as one piece. So I'm simply going to trim my little end so that I can line it up a bit better. The red we are separating from the other two strips. Now, sometimes I find it hard with a long strip because I can't hold it. So this is where I can just grab, this is a little trick that I use. I just grab a little tiny piece of washi tape. Or if you've got purple tape, my purple tape seems to have gone for a walk. I'm just going to get it lined up the way I want it, and then just put a little piece of washi tape down to hold it from moving. And then I can slide, and my strips are done. And it stays straight, it doesn't wiggle on me. And it looks like I got to trim off. I forgot to trim the black off the other end. So I'm just going to snip. Now we have to cut these down to size so that they're going to fit on our panel. And they're asking for it to be 3 7/8 of an inch long. Again, if you prefer to go to 4, just so it's a little bit more manageable, but it looks like the first cut is right here on that little diamond. So it's right at the end of the words. That's convenient. And then if we slide it along, same thing again. It's right kind of at the end. So we get love and peace, merry and bright on both of our pieces. Those are little, so put them somewhere safe that you don't lose them. And the same measurements on this guy, 3 7/8, which is going to take us just before the its. Again, they seem to know what they're doing, which is awesome. We don't have any cut off words. So your 2 It's Christmas Times can go in your keep pile. You should have one little length of each piece left. That's going to go in your scrap pile. Thumbs up, everyone's good. Excellent. One more sheet to cut, and then we can get creating. So we have this beautiful piece of cut aparts. It's got the reindeer on the back. This paper, it's very difficult to cut things apart because you want to use the other side as well. And on the instructions, these pieces look bigger than what they are, so it just confused me for a second. All right, so what we need from this sheet is we need the Santa with the clock at the top, and this is where I'm just going to put my little Post-it notes on again. We need the dirigible, I think that's what that's called, the big blimp. We need Santa in the car. And we're going to go over here and we're going to cut this little reindeer piece out. Now, just to show you where these are going to go, they are going on these small flaps here. So if there are pieces that are similar in size that you want to use instead, go ahead. If you want to wait until we get to that before you decide, that's also okay. But I'm going to get these cut out. We also need these 2 pieces here, the toys and the merry and bright. So how I am going to tackle this cutting is I'm going to cut here, right down the middle, so that I can get these 4 pieces out. I'll do this cut next so that I can maneuver it, and then we'll come over and cut this little guy at the end. So once again, I'm going to eyeball. I'm going to get it as close to that red edge at the top and this edge at the bottom. Don't worry if you don't get it perfect. We can always trim it down with scissors afterwards. So there's my first cut. This piece I'm just going to put aside for right now. We'll come back to get that piece out of the bottom corner. I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn it horizontal, and I'm going to cut as close as I can to the bottom of these pieces. So this piece here with the Christmas time and the little tree can go in your scrap pile. Turn it back vertical. Let's cut this strip down now. Okay, and now we just do our trimming. And And again, these pieces are little, so put them maybe with your strips so they don't get lost in the shuffle. Now, if you ladies happen to be ahead of me and you want to ink and distress your edges, you can go ahead, or you can do that as we go along, or you can leave them without distressing. I think I'm going to leave mine. There's enough stuff going on. I don't think I'm going to add the distressing to it. So this little square Santa, he's going in your scrap pile. All the 3 other pieces that we just cut are in your keep pile. And now we need our 2 pieces from the middle of this piece. These guys go in your scrap. These guys go in your scrap. And just keep trimming it down till all the green is gone. All right, the last thing we have to do is just get this little reindeer out of the bottom. I'm going to try and be tricky. I'm just going to cut only part way up. Try to leave the rest of this sheet intact so we don't lose too many little bits. So all of these guys can go in your use later pile and then trim away all the green. Okay, hopefully everybody is still with me. To recap from a cut apart standpoint, this is what we should have. We should have those. I'm going to call them 4x6. They're not. They're obviously much smaller than that. But and then we have these guys. We have our 2 borders. And we have these 2 guys. Everybody good? All right, I see thumbs and nodding heads. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So if you are good with all of this, you can just stack them up and tuck them away for now. We will come back to them. So our cutting, for the most part, until we get to the belly band, is done. We do have to do a little bit of scoring though. So if you are using your trimmer for scoring, keep it handy. If you are switching to a scoreboard, now is the time to do that. Okay, so I've got my scoreboard and my scoring tool. And you need your 4 pieces of black cardstock. So 2 of these were 2x6, 2 of them are 2x4. What we want to do is we want to score right down the middle. That wasn't down the middle, vertically. So at the 1-inch mark. So you're just going to put your piece in vertically snug it right into the corner and score at 1 inch all the way down. As always, it's better to do it lightly and do it a couple of times to get that nice score. And then you can go ahead and fold it in half, just so that it's ready to go. Do the same thing to all 4 pieces. Score at the 1 inch mark. So I've done my 2 long pieces. Now I'm doing my 2 short pieces. And there you go. Easy peasy. That's it for scoring. So your scoreboard can go away now. Or in my case, just behind me. I'm just gonna burnish these folds a little bit more. Because like I said, these are our hinges for our panels. So we want to make sure that those folds are nice and crisp. Okie dokie. Now we can start assembling. So if you take your chipboard, so you can put your little hinges aside for just a second. We're going to take our chipboard and we're going to lay them out. Just so I mean, there's not that many pieces. It's not like it's going to be easy to get confused, but we want to have our big one in the center, then our next 2 medium-sized ones on either side, and our little ones at the bottom, left and right. To match them up, our 2, oops, too many pieces. Our 2 small hinges are going to go on these 2 pieces to connect them. Our 2 large hinges are going to go between these pieces and connect them. So this is where you want to grab your score tape or your really strong tape. You can use liquid glue if you prefer that. I like score tape because I know it's going to stick and it's going to stick well. But before we stick it, I just want to show you the trick to this. So when we attach, and you know what, I'm going to clear this out so that you can see clearly. So this is our panel. This is our hinge. When we attach it, we do not want the hinge flush with the edge. We actually want it to come and stick out just a little bit. See if the camera can keep up with me here. There we go. You can see how it's sticking out just a little bit. That gives us a little bit of leeway so that when these pieces fold, they've got room. You can see here on my sample one, there is that little tiny gap between my 2 chipboard pieces. That allows it to fold flat a lot more easily without tearing or cracking the paper. So when we put these on, we just have to remember that you want that hinge to stick out. I'm going to say 1/16 of an inch. It doesn't have to be a lot. I mean, you can do it a lot. That will just give you an extra space between your panels. But you do want that 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch overhang. So I'm going to start with my score tape, and I'm going to put a strip on the outside edge and on either side of the fold, remembering that we're going to have that little bit of a gap. And you might as well get both sides prepped because we're going to need it. So when you look at mine, I've got it on either side, and then I've got it on either side of that fold, but not right up against the fold. That gives us our leeway. I'm going to start just by peeling the backing off of one side. And that's the key with this assembly, is just taking it step by step. And with the score tape, you don't want to take off too much of the backing until you are ready for it. So, sticky side down. You want to center it on that long edge and just have that little bit of a gap, a little bit of an overlap. And I'm going to try and stand up. There we go. When you've got it where you like it, give it a good firm rub down. So you can see how mine has that little bit of an overhang. So next we want to attach that medium piece to it. And here is the trick that we're going to do. We're not going to worry about this piece. We are going to peel our backing and we're going to align our corner and our bottom, because that will give us the same overhang. So as long as your chipboard edges are lining up, you are in good shape. Clear as mud, everyone good? Nodding heads, that's good. Thumbs up, thank you. So sticky side down, and as long as you don't press down, you should still have a smidgen of wiggle room if you need to straighten anything out. Line up my corner, line up that top edge, and then rub it down. And I will tell you, on my sample one of my hinges is not straight. You can't tell. So if you're a little bit off, it's okay. So there is hinge number 1. We're just going to keep moving along and doing the same thing to all of our pieces. I find it easiest to do it this way. Go small, medium, large, medium, small, versus jumping over to doing the other medium and small, because invariably, if it were me anyways, I would tape it on the wrong side. So let's just keep going this way. So I want to take my big hinge now. I'm going to do the same thing, attach it to my medium piece, and then attach my big piece to it. Four strips of tape, outside, outside, and then either side of the fold. Oops. Remember to leave a little bit of a gap at the fold. Don't go right up against the fold because we need it to overhang. Okay, oops. All right, I'm going to start on my medium side. Whoops. I'm just throwing everything around right now. So sticky side, fold it down. I'm going to turn mine this way just so it's a little easier to see. Little bit of an overhang centered on the edge and stick. And I'm going to do the same thing to my center panel. Line up my corners. Line up that top. So you should have this nice 3-panel stair step looking mechanism going on. Let's repeat for the other side. So I'm going to do my big hinge. I should only have one left. Outside. Outside. Along the fold, leaving a gap. Along the fold, leaving a gap. Okay, this time when you're doing it, make sure you're putting your hinge on your left side so that it butts up against your center panel. Though I think even if you did it on the wrong side, we should be able to swing it around. Should be okay. And press. And here we go again. This time I'm now lining up my bottom right corner with those pieces, sticky side down. And good. So you can see it all starting to take shape. And one last panel, our last little guy. Outside. Outside. Along the fold, leaving a gap. And one last time. I'm going to attach my hinge to my smaller piece, trying to be mindful of what side is going where. We are almost there, ladies. It's almost built. bottom right corner, line those pieces up, line up your top, and press. So these should all fold in with lots of flex and not too much resistance. You will have those little bitty gaps, but when it's standing, no one's going to notice. It's going to be so beautiful, they will be mesmerized. All right, everyone with me so far? Nods, thumbs up, hooray, hoorah. Now the fun part. We get to decorate. And this is where, because we've cut everything properly, it's all going to make a lot of easy sense. Basically, whatever we do to the front of a panel, we are going to do the same thing to the back of that panel. So to start with, you can take your 2 pieces of green holly with the gears. That's obviously going to go on your center panel, front and back. Your checkerboard is going to go on your medium panel. So I'm going to take 2 and just put it here and take the other 2 and put it here. Makes a lot of sense. Our plaid panels. These are actually going to go on top of our checkerboards, and it's going to go up towards the top. I basically use the squares on the checkerboard to help me create my border, so it just lined up that there's 1 full row of squares at the top. So again, put 2 on the right, 2 on the left, and it should come as no surprise that these little guys are going to go on your end panels. So now that we're all lined up, you can go ahead and glue all of those down. Again, remembering 1 piece goes on one side, the other piece you're going to flip over and do it on the back side. You can just use regular adhesive at this point. You don't need to use score tape unless you want to. Because we're now in the decorating and not in the foundational assembly, I don't think you should have too much problem with stuff sticking down. So use whichever adhesive you prefer to use. I'm just going to use my tape runner. And essentially these pieces just get centered on the panel, top and bottom, left and right. Now, as I said off the top, if you're feeling creative, if you're feeling inspired, or if there's just a pattern that you don't like, feel free to flip your paper over. This is where you can really customize and make it your own. Before you stick them down, if you wish to ink and edge your papers, it's much easier to do it before it's stuck down. So I will give you that warning as we're sticking things down. Do it first. As I said, I'm going to leave mine as is. So the checkerboard gets centered. And the plaid is centered left to right, but scooched up towards the top of that checkerboard piece. There we go. Make sure with your ornament piece, you get it the right way up. You don't want upside down ornaments. Repeat for the left. Just one row of squares from the top. All right, my tape runner ran out, so I'm switching back to score tape because that's what happens sometimes. Good thing I'm an adhesive junkie and I've got lots of adhesive in the house. And I own a craft store, so you know, it's easy to get adhesive when you need it. All right, with your ornaments again, make sure that it's going the right direction. No upside down ornaments. And then I'm going to flip it all over and do the same thing.
Excuse me, Sheri.
Yes.
Can I see the inside of the sample? I'm just trying to decide which side of this paper to use.
Absolutely. Let me move mine out of the way. So the way I have it is like so. So I've got ornament, the checkerboard, the plaid. Because we are making these flips, you will see a little bit more of that holly paper. So if you wanted to flip over to the green, that's kind of what that would look like.
Okay, thanks. I might try the green on the inside anyway.
Absolutely. You don't have to do the same on both sides.
Okay, thanks.
Same with, so just for argument's sake, that's what the Christmas tree would look like instead of the plaid. Or, yeah, you probably don't want to flip over the checkerboard, but you could flip over the ornaments. So the ornaments are just the gears. So hopefully that helps.
Yes, thanks very much.
No problem. Sometimes just deciding is the hardest part of creating. This is where we need Christmas music playing in the background. Matt was at the store today and he set up the Christmas tree and he started with some of the decorations. But then it got busy, so he had to stop. Tiffany and I will finish that job tomorrow, so we'll be in the festive spirit. All right.
I'm glad you're using the tape now because it sort of helps me catch up.
Okay, well, if you need me to slow down, Yolanda, or if you need me to repeat something, please don't hesitate to ask.
No, it's perfect because I use tape too, so.
Excellent. Yeah, I could start singing some Christmas carols right now, but you really, really don't want me to do that. All of a sudden I'd look up and all of you have signed off because of my screeching. There we go. Yeah, sometimes the hardest part is deciding. Sometimes hardest part is getting the backing off your tape. This is coming up pretty easy, which I'm glad. So like I said, ladies, if you feel that you're having a creative moment and you want to do something a little bit different, by all means, go ahead. If you want to put your photo mats on a jaunty angle, for example, though I think that would be really hard on the eyes, by all means, this is yours. So as we get into this, deep into this decorating portion of the class, feel free to go rogue, feel free to be creative. After class, you can go in and add more bling if you wish, Nuvo drops, glitter, and of course, if you have them, your photos. So I think that's what struck me the most when I was starting to put this together, is that this is supposed to be a mini album, but there weren't a whole lot of places for photos, which is why I turned those cut aparts into flaps. And when I don't think I showed you on the back, we're going to create a pocket that you can put tags in. With your ornament, I'm going to say it again because I almost did it. Make sure it's right side up. I almost put it on upside down. And we're working away, working away. I was trying to think of other occasions that you could use this format for. It would make a really great grandparents memorabilia type piece, you know, with whether it's here at Christmas, you know, maybe it's baby's first photo with Santa, or even just in front of the tree. Be great as a grandparent's gift. You could do it as with wedding photos. You could do it for Mother's Day or Father's Day if they have an office maybe that they would want to display something in and have those memories close. graduation, I guess any of those milestones where you may only have a handful of keystone photos, but something that you want to see over and over again. And then, you know, when time passes, you can just fold it up and tuck it away.
This is so cute.
It really is, isn't it? I was really impressed with how simple it is in concept. I mean, you could very easily take this and modify it by making your center panel bigger, adding more smaller panels out to the side. It's really flexible, really versatile, and pretty sturdy overall. Like, it's not flimsy at all. So if everybody's with me, I've got both of my sides now with the base decorations done. Let's get into the extra bits. So I have my panels with the hinges on the top. So if you'll notice one side just has the backing. The other side, if you look closely, you can see those hinges. I keep those hinges on the inside. So that's what I consider my inside spread. So for our decoration on these guys, this is where we need some of our bits. Okay. If you remember, we have toys and merry and bright. We don't need those yet, so tuck those back in that safe spot. We have our strips. For the inside, we need the green ones. So the red ones can go off to their safe place. These guys are going to go right at the bottom of your plaid. So I've just aligned the bottom of the green strip with the bottom of the plaid, and it just covers that same space. It does not go fully edge to edge. And you're going to do that on both sides. We have these 4 little pieces. And I think on my sample, I did it wrong, but we're all going to do it wrong together because that's what I'm going to go with. You're going to go with the car. He's going to go over here. And our Merry Christmas blimp is going to go down over here. Now I've just got, on my sample, I just have it flush down. If you wish, you could make that a pocket. If you wanted to tuck your photo in as opposed to attaching it, if you wanted to make a tag. So if you're going to make it a pocket, use a thinner score tape and only do the 2 short ends and the bottom. So that's going to go there. The magic of Christmas and our Christmas time, that'll be for the back side so it can tuck off to the side. And then for our center panel, just to get them ready, we're not going to stick them down yet. We want Christmas time with top hat Santa, and we want peace, love, and joy. But I'm going to show you what to do with those in a minute to make those flaps. And I think earlier I said we were done with the scoreboards. I was wrong. We'll need to get that out again. These 2 guys can just get tucked aside for now because they're going on the back as well. So you can go ahead and you can glue down these 2 pieces and your 2 strips. And then we'll come back together and I'll show you what to do with these center pieces. And I kind of like the idea of making those pockets, so I think I'm going to do that. I still have a little bit of green showing on this piece, so I'm just using my scissors to trim it down. Get those little shavings off. So if I'm making it a pocket, 2 short ends and the bottom only, go as close to the edge as you can. That gives you the most pocket room to put things in. And while I've got my tape out on, oh, I need to trim that. I'll come back. So this little piece just gets aligned right with the bottom. Actually, yeah, it's gonna be right at the bottom and it's gonna be pretty close to edge on that black piece. There we go. I'm just gonna take my little Post-it note, scrap, and tuck it in so I remember that that's a pocket. Same thing over here with Dirigible Santa. Skinny score tape, make sure I remember which one is the bottom. And centered right along the bottom. Post-it note scrap. And then these guys, like I said, are just going to attach right to the bottom of your red plaid piece. And same to the left. All right, is everyone ready for the flaps? Or do you need another couple of seconds? Thumbs up, thumbs up. All right. So this is where you're going to want to grab your scoreboard again. And we are going to do some score lines on our Peace, Love, and Joy and our Christmas time. I'm just going to move this off to the side. Peace, Love, and Joy. Actually, let's start. Christmas time is going to be a flip up fold. So what we want to do is we want to do a 1/4 inch score line along that top edge. Peace, Love, and Joy is going to be a side to side fold. So on that left end, we're going to do a 1/4 inch score line. So I'm going to start with Christmas time, or whichever card you chose to go on the top. I'm going to turn it so that it's sideways with the top edge on my left. And so when I line it up and score it at that 1/4 inch mark, again, nice and gentle to begin with. You've got that nice little fold to make your flap. Give it a fold both ways so that you know that the fibers are nice and stretched out. That's going to go on the top. Peace, Love, and Joy. You're going to keep it just as is so that you can read the words. The Christmas tree is on your left. Scooch it into the corner again, and once again, do a 1/4 inch. And fold along those lines. Okay, scoreboard can go off to the side again. So we want to position these so that they are centered top to bottom and left to right with a little gap in between here. Sorry, I'll move up. I'm going to attach my bottom one first because that way I can fudge the top one a little bit if I need to. So I'm going to fold that flap over so that the reverse side is showing. I'm going to put my score tape on it. And this is the trick. So because we've got tape side facing up, I'm going to go ahead and peel my backing. The sticky side is up. That way I can move this wherever I want without fear of it getting stuck. So I want it here so that it's nice and centered. When I've got it where I want, I'm just going to slide my hand over so that sticky bit now sticks down. So now your flap opens to the side. We're going to do the same thing with the top. So I'm going to fold that little score line towards me. I've got the reverse side showing. Add a strip of tape. I keep scooching down. I apologize, ladies. Keep that sticky side facing up. Because sticky's up, I can move it around wherever I need to. Put it in the position that I want, and then gently smooth the sticky side down. And there you have it. let's call this layer 2 of our decorating. So before we do the final little bits on this side, let's flip over and do the same, well, similar steps on the back side. So we're gonna flip. Careful that your flaps don't get squashed. And so from our pieces that are left, I've got my 2 larger cut aparts. Once again, they are going to go in the center. I've got these 2 guys. The dude with the clock is going to go on my left-hand side. The reindeer is going to go on the right-hand side. It's Christmas time. This time, instead of going at the bottom of the plaid, it's going to go down below. So I've got about a black, if I'm looking at the black squares, once again, I've got a full line of squares down here at the bottom, just like I have at the top. So those guys are going to go there. You've got these 2 guys left. Just tuck them aside for right now. So you can go ahead and stick these down, the 2 on the ends. Once again, if you wish to make a pocket, go right ahead. You can attach down your Christmas time. Then what I did in the middle is I attached the Magic of Christmas. I kept him flat. Because it's the back, I wanted it to be a little bit more flat so that if it's up against a wall or something like that, it doesn't get the wear and tear. Also, once it's bundled as a booklet or the mini album, I didn't want that flap being in danger of being torn off. So I have attached him flat. Jingle All the Way, I made into a pocket. So again, I just attached it with tape on my 2 short ends and the bottom. And what I did is I then took some of the extra cut aparts and made them into tags. So if you wish to do that, you can. If you want to do flaps, by all means, go ahead. Your little panel is going to be 1/4 of an inch, but I'm going to go ahead and attach these just as I did on my sample. So flat, 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 pocket. So you got lots of options now. So go ahead and do, actually, I'm going to do these guys as the little guys on the end as pockets again, because I think that's pretty cute. But this is where you can go rogue, and I'll never know. It's not like when we are in person where I can see what you're doing. That needs trimming. Trim your pieces, edge your pieces as you wish. And if you happen to get them mixed up and opposite to mine, that's okay. It happens. So this guy here on the end is, oh, mine's a little bit smaller, but I'm still going to line at the bottom, center it left to right. Switch to the other end. So with the It's Christmas Time, remember you're just going one row of squares up from the bottom. Oops, and make sure it's right side up. Make sure you can read the words. I almost had mine upside down. Fortunately, we had that one extra little piece that I could have easily covered that up the right way up had I stuck that down. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to take my Magic of Christmas and I'm going to attach Santa flat. I know there's a children's book called Flat Stanley. Maybe they should do a Christmas version called Flat Santa. And I just realized all my corny jokes are being captured for posterity because we're recording. Hope you guys are all laughing at me. Come on, there we go. So flat Santa goes at the top, centered left to right, about a ½ inch from the top. And Jingle All the Way, I am going to attach as a pocket, so just the two ends and the bottom. There we go. And make sure he is centered underneath flat Santa, centered left to right, and stick. How's everyone doing? Thumbs up, thumbs up. Thumbs up. You're good, Yolanda. Thumbs up. Hooray. We are 4, 4, 4. That is decorating layer number 2 complete. So all we have left is the final little embellishments. I just need to check my that one went there. Okay, and that one. So we have these two little pieces left. Where they are supposed to go, and you can choose whether you want to do this or not. I've got my two samples here side by side. So Merry and Bright is going to go on the inside on your top flap. So it actually is a little bit more of a tab that's going to go on that front flap. As per the instructions, the toys one is supposed to go here. But because we made this a pocket, I wouldn't recommend that because you're just going to block your pocket. So I didn't actually use this piece in my sample. You could use it just as a tag that tucks in if you wish, or if you would rather put the toys on the inside, you can. I will leave that up to you as to what you decide. The other thing that we have left to do is our postage stamps and our wood pieces. So what I did is I chose 4 postage stamps. You actually have 6 to choose from. We just need 4. And what we're going to do is we are going to put them back to back on this medium panel in the outside corners. So let's do this first. Let's put our black piece on if you wish, and go ahead and choose 4 postage stamps and get them all nicely trimmed close together. Like so. I've got it just kind of right on the edges. Oh, let my camera adjust here. Trimmed right close to the edges. Once you have those ready, I will show you how to attach those. And then our last bit is just our wood pieces and tags and that kind of thing, which I can show you how to do as well. All right, so this is my back. I need to flip over to my front. I'm going to put my Merry and Bright. So remember, this is a flap. So when you're attaching it, only put your tape or adhesive on the top so that it overlaps, but doesn't keep that flap or that flap from opening. Just going to do 1 line of tape. And that black Merry and Bright does overlap both of those pieces, but the idea is you would lift this up and then you would lift this up. All right, I'm going to pick 4 postage stamps here to trim. I'm going to use those 2 this time and these 2 in the middle. Just trim it close to those edges. If you want a little bit more of a black border, you can. Actually, maybe I will on this one. I like using my guillotine trimmer for these really fine cuts because you can get just nice little slivers off without damaging your paper. So this time I chose to leave a little bit of a black edge. Sorry, I let my camera focus. I don't know if it's going to grab it or not. There we go. I've left a little bit of a black border around the postage stamp, and it just gives that a little bit of emphasis. And again. So the 2 extra postage stamps that you don't use, just keep with your to be used later pile. Okay. Are you ladies all ready with your postage stamps? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So I'm going to show, I'll show you the right one first. So take your 4 postage stamps and decide which ones are going to go on each panel. Remembering one is going to be on the inside and one is going to be on the outside. So for my right-hand panel, I have chosen the deer and the Santa playing the piano. And you will notice that when they are folded up, they are going to cover each other up. So I'm going to actually change mine because I want the piano to be the one that's showing over here. So I'm just going to swap my Santas. There we go. So to attach these, what I did was this. I took my postage stamp and I put adhesive on the bottom half of the postage stamp and stuck it to my chipboard. I then used, hang on, let me get here. I used foam tape in between the two. So let's start with that. So I'm going to take my reindeer. I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on the bottom half. Make sure you know which one is the bottom half. I know my tree is upside down, so this is going to be my bottom. And even to just be the bottom edge, it doesn't have to be the full half. I'm going to peel it up. And I'm going to attach it here in the top right corner. But again, I want the top half to be off the chipboard. So I'm going to just make sure that that top half is hanging over. Flip it over. And this is where I'm going to use my foam tape. If you have foam squares, that's okay as well. We're just putting some cushion in between here because the chipboard is so thick. Now I know that my foam tape is on the thin side, so I'm going to double mine up. If you have, again, if you have the foam squares or if you have a thicker foam, you probably only need 1 layer. But I'm going to take my foam tape. I fold it in half to give it some extra thickness. And I'm going to put it right here on the back of that postage stamp. So now I have to be careful. I'm going to take my second postage stamp. Once again, I'm going to put flat regular score tape on the bottom. Where did that roll go? Peel off my backing. But when I line it up, I'm going to line up my top edges. Let me see if I can bring this closer. So here's the top edge of my inside stamp. I'm going to line up the top edge so that that postage stamp is sticking to the foam, and then stick it down to the chipboard. So now you've got a nice firm layer in between your pieces. Sorry, the camera's not grabbing it. And you've got that tab sandwiched around your chipboard. And so when you fold it in, there you see Santa. Do the same thing over here on your left side. So I'm going to put the gear ornament on the inside. This time I'm going off to the left side. Oh, I have my tape. So my inside tab, peel and stick it down halfway top to bottom, inset from the outer edge and stick it down. Whoops. Careful with your flaps when you're flipping it over. Grab some foam. Again, I've doubled mine over just so I have the extra thickness. And my piano Santa. It's going at the top. So there you go. So the last thing that we have to do to decorate our foundational pieces is make our tags and do any extra embellishment that you want to do from your leftover bits or any other bling that you may have. I'm going to leave that for you to do as homework. What I will do is I will show you how to color your wood bits if you wish. To glue them down, I used a liquid glue because I found that it held it a little bit better. Just be careful. I would do one side first, let it set, then flip it over and do the other side. The reason why I'm going to leave this for you guys for homework is because I would like to get to the belly band and show you how to pull that together first. You can decorate on your own, but I will show you how to color the wood bits as well. For the back, for the tags, let me just close this up nicely. I just use the tags from the cut apart sheet. So I pulled these two tags, punched a hole, put the ribbon through. I also used some of those larger postage stamp pieces. We had a little piece of red plaid left over, so I put it on the back. But you can use your scraps and your extra little bits to create whatever tags you want for your pockets. So again, I will leave that up to your creativity. Let me show you the wood pieces. So when it comes to the wood, you are more than welcome to leave them naked. And remember, when you're dumping out your wood pieces, just be mindful of your Velcro. We don't want to lose that little piece of Velcro. So when you're inking up your wood pieces, if you decide that you want to ink them up, trying to get this out carefully, make sure you decide where it's going to go first and what direction you want him to go in. If you want him going this way, then make sure you have that up so that when we ink it, we ink the right side. And then all I did was I used a little finger dauber and my ink, which I think I just buried. Was here a second ago. There it is. Wait. Now this can get a little messy on your fingers. So if you still are doing some work with paper, just be careful. You're going to want to wash your hands after you do this. I'm just using my rustic wilderness oxide. I just dab it in here, and then I just dabbed it and kind of rubbed the ink into the wood. And you can do it as light or as dark as you wish. Just by building layers. But you can see there is a little bit of transfer until it dries, at least with the oxide. So like I said, I would plan out where you think you're going to put these guys and then ink them up, leave them for 5 or 10 minutes to dry, and then go ahead and glue them into your book. But I know you guys can handle that, so I will leave that for you. Let me show you where I put them in my sample album, just so you have some ideas, but obviously feel free to do them however you wish. So in my sample book, on the inside, I did the tree and the deer just here in, again, I did it in balancing corners. So my tabs are on the top outside. My wood pieces are on the bottom inside. I also threw a piece of greenery right here. I just kind of blended in with the greenery that was on the paper. And I put the snowflake down here on the outside bottom corner. On the back side, I did not do as much, again, because the outside will get a little bit more wear and tear. I was mindful of that. So I put the two love pieces. So there's the love tag and the love ornament. Again, as I'm just anchoring the tab here, and I liked it here in this top right corner. Whoops. So there's that one there and that one there. I did not use all the ones that we were given. Feel free to use them as much or as little as you prefer. So that is our base album. Let's take our last 10 minutes and put together our belly band. And before we do that, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. So we need to cut two 12-inch pieces from our leftover bits. And we want one piece to be, and I'm just going to confirm my measurements. We want our, so I've got, for this one, I've got the black gears and I've got the holly. So it was the ornament, and I can't remember now, it was on the back of the holly, but the more narrow piece is 1.5 inches. The wider piece is 2 inches. So out of your scrap paper, from your pile, grab 2 patterns that you like. So again, I'm going to use the holly with the gears. Again, decisions are the hardest part. I'm going to stick with my original. So I'm going to use these 2 patterns, but feel free to use whichever of these 12-inch pieces that you wish. Put these all on top so I don't lose them. So 1.5 inches out of your more narrow one, 2 inches for your wider one. Inch and a half. I guess in theory, you could do that too. There is enough. You know what, I'm going to do that. On this one, I'm just going to use the reverse here. So I'm going to do 2 inches out of that. So I just have a little sliver of that left over. And then all you're going to do is you're going to take your narrow one and you are going to attach it to your wider one right down the middle. This is primarily for decorative purposes, so you've got some contrasting colors, but it is also to give you a little bit more stability in your strip so that it's nice and strong. We are going to be bending and manipulating this strip, so you do want to make sure that the 2 layers are well adhered to each other, and make sure you go right to your edges. So just right down the center. Okay. Once you've got them attached together, kind of give them a bit of a rub like this so it starts to curl a little bit. This will make it a little bit easier for us to fold it. Okay, I goofed. Sorry, ladies. We need 2 pieces because 1 piece is not going to be long enough. My apologies. So if you have more of that paper that you cut a second strip each of 1.5 inches and 2 inches. If I really made you goof up, I've got extra paper that you can come into the store and I can help you find a second piece. Luckily, I have scraps.
And they're both the same length, correct?
They're both the same length to start, yes. We will be trimming one of them off because we don't need the full 24 inches, but you need it to start. Sorry, ladies. Inch and a half, there's my 2 inches. I hope I didn't mess anyone up too much. Do. Okay. So now that we have our two strips, we need to attach them together. So I'm just going to overlap about an inch and create one long strip. One long strip. And we're going to take our album and fold it all up. And this is where these are now going to come and overlap. So here's mine. Your right hand piece, I've actually got it the wrong way here. Your right hand piece is going to come in about to the edge of your short panel, right here. And this one will come over the other way to the other end of your short panel. Or this is actually it's your short and your medium. You don't want it, you want it snug so that it holds all the pieces close, and when it's standing, it doesn't drop down, but you don't want it super snug. And I think that's what my problem was with my sample one. My Velcro keeps pulling apart. So keep it mid snug, if that is a term. Mid snug. So let me cut mine off and I will tell you approximately how long mine is. Mine is, you see me here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and a half inches long. If you want to be precise, you could even go to 17. And then this is where our little Velcro dot comes into play. I'm also going to add a glue dot. These Velcros do have adhesive on it, but like I said, I'm finding that my sample one isn't staying stuck the way I like it. So I'm going to add a little bit extra. All right, so put your belly band back around. The easiest thing to do is we're going to put it on the left hand end first. So right now your Velcro has 2 pieces of plastic on the outside and your 2 pieces of Velcro are stuck together on the inside. It really doesn't matter which side is which. So I'm going to peel off one backing. So my plastic backing is going to go in the trash. I'm going to stick a glue dot on the back of the Velcro just to give it some extra stick. And I am going to stick it about a ½ an inch in from the end, centered top to bottom. if I don't get it sticking to me. So right about there. You can see where my glue dot is right there. Give it a really good rub. Give it a squeeze, give it a push. Now you're going to take off your other backing, leave the Velcro pieces together. So when you take your backing off, it should just be the plastic. If you can finagle it, add another glue dot to the back of that Velcro. Come on. Fold your right edge over the way you want it, then fold your left edge over. And push down. So now your Velcro should nicely come apart and it's stuck where you want it to be to close every single time. Ta-da! And you can go ahead and use some of your cut aparts to decorate the center. This also, you don't want anything too big, so you have to be careful. You don't want people lifting from this and pulling it off. So you want to be able to separate your belly band from there. So there you have it, ladies. That is our mini display album using Graphic 45. I hope you had lots of fun, and I am going to stop the recording so that no one else needs to hear the rest of our chit chat, and we'll have our little goodbyes.